Welcome, everybody. Meeting's been called to order. We've done the road call. So I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Any discussion related to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We have approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes? Is this last month's meetings where we didn't have a quorum, and then there was a previous meeting prior to that where we didn't have a quorum either? So what are we for?
Sir, you have before you the November 15th meeting, which was the last meeting of 2022. The board voted not to have a meeting on December because it would have been on the 20th, if I recall, and that was too close to the holiday. So at the pleasure of the board, that meeting was canceled.
I think the meetings, last meeting, we couldn't prove the meetings from the prior meeting as a result of there not being a quorum.
Meeting in November.
No, the one before November, October. I think that was reflected
I thought that the October meeting,
in the minutes.
the October 18th meeting was canceled. So it would have been the September 20th.
Right.
Which I do not have those minutes, and I apologize for the confusion.
Okay, so we're just voting on the last meeting.
My apologies for that. I will bring the September 20th minutes on our next regular meeting.
So do I have a motion to accept last meeting's minute?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
That's a motion. I have a second. Is there any discussion related to the motion?
Mr. Chair, the only thing, if I may, that I want to point out is that your name was mistyped by me, and I will correct that on one of the votes. I put we you.
I missed that, so it's okay. But thank you very much for pointing that out.
Mr. Chair, I would like to note, please note that I spoke with David, that it has on the summary of absences. The last physical year, started in October. He had me with 3, but I was absent one time with an excuse.
Right.
Mr. Chair, so for the rules, and if I had presented them, then I failed to apply it. Every member is entitled to 2 excuse absences per year, and that year starts October 1st. The confusion is that we follow absences for the previous 6 months. And so in essence, member Fox, those previous 2 absences should have been erased, should have been deleted from the record.
Okay.
Likewise, member IDs, I believe, for the month of August, because that fiscal year is over. So I will correct the record.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else
Move for approval, Mr. Chair,
with the noted changes?
with the noted changes. The noted changes.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Patience. Patience. Communications, so that's man.
I guess that's me.
Mr. Chair, Phil Mann, interim GCRA director and special advisor to city manager. I don't have a lot to report, but the one thing I do have to report on is actually a very huge transformational project that's moving rapidly. And that's the East Side Health and Economic Development Initiative project. We have been working, staff has been working diligently on that project. The roadway design for the property is moving through the development review process, as is the site plan for the medical center. We close on the white battery and electric property this Friday. That closing is scheduled. We are moving forward with the environmental impacts so that we can start building the RTS transit hub. So there's many pieces in motion. And that's the biggest thing that I think the GCRA team is working on. That's going to be a huge transformational project. The other thing I think staff is going to talk about tonight is the annual report and the presentation to the joint city county commission meeting on January 25th, 23rd, and the presentation to the city commission next Thursday. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you. That's my brief report for tonight.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. So you're requesting board members to be present at the joint meeting on now?
That's what this presentation will.
That's what the presentation will cover. Okay.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the update. 2023.
2023.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there a consent agenda?
So we have no items on consent.
I have a question on the consent agenda. The GCR advisory board reviews and recommend that changes to the GCRA advisory board rules pursuant to ordinance 210-56 be reviewed and approved by the city commission. What is that?
Where you referring?
That's from last meeting. That's number 5.
In the minutes?
I believe it's
It's on the consent agenda from what I'm looking at. Oh, no, that was November. I'm looking at. Excuse me. This is November. I'm sorry. No other question, Mr. Chair.
request to address the board. Any request to address the board? No request to address the board. Staff. So that brings us to business discussion. First up, 2023-05 Community Partnership Grant Winter Spring 2023 4th Point Award Department.
Mr. Chair, before we move forward, as we read this, I wanted to point out, there's been a little bit of a format change in the agenda. The number that you first read refers to the agenda item number. Okay, so you will see that moving forward. And we're still getting used to this new format. It used to be on the end. Now it's on the front. And then the B at the end signifies that there's backup to this, meaning the attachments.
So this is item H1 then.
Well, it's item H1 in the agenda, but for the purposes of these clients, system is item number 2023-05.
Okay, thank you.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Daniel Blumberg, and I'm a GCRA project manager. I'm happy to bring back to you the Community Partnership Grant Program. As a quick recap, the program is a matching grant program that allows for $10,000 per application window. The highest ranked applicant receives $5,000 or the amount requested up to $5,000. The remaining applicants that met the requirements split equally the remaining $5,000 up to their requested amount. So in this example of 3 applicants, one is ranked the highest, would receive up to $5,000, and the other 2 would receive $2,500. So splitting the second pool of $5,000. If you had 4 applicants, if you had 5 applicants, make an easy example, one could receive the $5,000 and the other 4 would split the other $5,000 for $1,250 each.
Quick question. What happens if the highest ranked applicant requested $4,000, so there's $1,000 left over? Does that get?
That in the program guidelines right now, it would not roll into the smaller pool. It would just continue into the program for the next application cycle.
So we have all of this in our handout. So you're reading what we have. If you could possibly go through the three applicants, scholar mentoring. And okay, I see the three. I thought you were going to read that.
Yeah, no problem. So this application cycle, we did receive 3 applications prior to the December 1st deadline. The 3 applicants, as you can see, are the 42nd annual Fifth Avenue Arts Festival, SWOR Mentoring Services, doing business as the East Gainesville Backyard Barbecue, and the Hippodrome State Theater for their 50th birthday celebration. So as to not influence the board's decision, the points awarded by the staff are not currently shown. I'll bring those up at the end of the presentation. So the next steps would be staff is going to notify applicants of the results. We would meet with the applicants. The project period for these projects is from April 1st through September 30th. The project end date, closing and reporting within 3 months of the event. So if they had their event, say September 30th, they'd still have 3 months to get their end results back to us for the reporting. The next application window, their deadline is June 1st, 2023 by 5 p.m. for the next cycle. So the recommendation is GCRA staff to the Gainesville Community Reinvestment Area Advisory Board to hear the presentation and award 2 points to one of the 3 applicants. So you have, and I apologize for you receiving it late, the 3 applications, but you do have all of the backup in front of you. If you'd like, we do have their presentation, basically all the backup that we received. I can bring any of them up on the screen if you'd like to take a look at anything in particular before you make a decision for which events the board would be interested in awarding the 2 points towards. Yes.
Any suggested criteria or matrix you have in terms of our selection for 2 points?
So staff has already awarded points based on the criteria for the program. And so this was the board's opportunity to award 2 points without being biased by the staff for what we've awarded the points towards. So that if you found something that perhaps you thought something was more important, then spend staff in identifying the items that they're having to look at. And if it would help, I can bring one of the applications up on the screen so you can see what the awards, where the points get awarded towards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
How many points would staff award?
Staff can award up to 6 points. So just a second.
The staff would award 6 points.
Right there, the whole thing.
And we are 12.
Different application.
Yeah, you would award 2 points.
It's the application guidelines, right?
Yeah, we might pull it out.
Got you.
Barbecue. Do you recall off the top of your head what the dollar amounts are that each applicant is requesting?
All of them were requesting the full $5,000. So I have on the screen right over there, so you can hear me on the microphone for people not here. So you can see on the screen right now. This is the sheet basically when it's being reviewed, and it's looking at these conditions. Event positively impacts the GCRA community and then meets each of the following city strategic goals, each worth 1 point. So all 5 of those are worth 1 point, and positively impacting the GCRA community is also worth 1 point. So that's where the up to 6 points can be awarded from. And so all of them in their backup had a chance to write and provide us information as to what it was, how they were impacting it based on a short description of the. To it. This might be the easiest way to do it. But this is an example So this is without anybody having filled it in, this is the blank form. So equitable community promoting equal access to all multiple language events, neighborhood focus. They can write their blurb and they can add on extra pages. Some of them did add on some extra pages for different pieces of what they were writing on to be able to earn the points from staff. And all of that is in your backup for what they actually provided us.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Thank you.
So we need 2 points for each one of the.
So the board, the request from the GCRA to the board is for the board to select one entity to receive 2 points total. So basically, the board would vote on a single one of the three to receive 2 points.
And then the other two will get a split.
The other, who are, depending on where your point total is. So let's say all of them, for instance, had 6 points. And you award one of them 2 points, they would now have 8. The other two would have 6. So the person with 8 would have the highest points. The other two at 6 would split the other $5,000. If the numbers were different, if it was 6, 3, and 6, and you awarded to the, let's make it 6, 5, and 4, you awarded to the 5 points person. That person would be the highest. The 6 and the 4 would then be the 2 lowest, and they would split.
Okay. I think I'm a little confused. Maybe I'm not getting out a little slow today. So each board member, are we as in?
As a board, as a board,
Do 2 points.
as a board would award 2 points to a single entity. So the board would decide which entity would receive 2 points.
And that's a majority vote.
And so it would be a majority vote.
I have a question. So out of these 3 applicants, have any of them received money before?
The only one that I'll take it back, there are 2 that have received funds before. And that is the Fifth Avenue Arts Festival and the East Side Barbecue.
I remember the West funding them last year.
And so both of them are asking for funding again for this fiscal year.
Okay.
I remember the barbecue.
It was from Store Mentoring Services.
Putting on
It was over in front of the MLK this time.
Where?
In front of MLK, in front of Citizen, or next to Citizen Field.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's more or less a newcomer.
50th.
The Hippodrome is, this is the first time the Hippodrome has asked for funding for their 50th anniversary.
And so in the last time that the money was awarded, did the Fifth Avenue Arts Festival get the $5,000? What were the amounts that were given to the entity?
Fifth Avenue Arts Festival last time, I believe they asked, this is going off recollection, I believe they asked for $2,500. The board decided to award them $3,000. The board increased the offer, and that's what they were provided. The Store Mentoring Service, I believe they did ask for $5,000, and I think they did get the full $5,000 if my memory serves on them. But all of those were prior to us actually implementing a program. And this is part of our reinvestment plan. It was identified that we really needed to get a program in place to give everybody an equal opportunity to apply and be able to receive funds, instead of what was happening before. People could just come to us, and if we had some funds, we might be able to get this done.
So as a board, how is this typically done? I mean, is there a motion? Is there prior discussion? I mean, how?
My suggestion would be the board have a discussion amongst themselves, and then at some point, someone would make a motion to continue to award points to one of the 3.
So let's open up the discussion then. Anybody have any ideas?
I'd like to go with the Hippodrome, because the Fifth Avenue and the Hippodrome have the biggest reach. The barbecue is smaller, the biggest reach of how many visitors come to each
The Hippodrome?
Hippodrome and the
Fifth Avenue.
50th anniversary event in the Fifth Avenue. And Fifth Avenue already gets a bunch of money from other city grants, while the Hippodrome's not getting anything from the city. It's kind of my thought process there, which means these 2 would split other money. They're not nothing.
Well, I beg to differ. The Hippodrome gets more money than most places. And And there is only, it's not really a diverse group that attends that you're on, even for plays and things, it tends to lean to a certain, Black people really don't frequent. And Hispanics, they don't usually frequent the Hippodrome. I go there maybe 3 or 4 times a year to plays. And it's one segment of our community. It's not across the board. Now, the Fifth Avenue Festival has been around for 45 years. And we have just as many every ethnic group at the Fifth Avenue Festival in the town. We have everybody there. And they are scrap funds, I would imagine, with the price of everything. So I'm gonna recommend that we go with the Fifth Avenue Festival again, because they've been around for the longest. And last year, we only gave them the 3,000, and then it was a lot of things that this board required. That they do the marketing plan and synthesis and that and the other things. So I'm gonna recommend that we give the 5,000 to the historic Fifth Avenue Festival and split the 2,500 with the SOAR program and most of their events at the Hippodrome will be ticketed events.
Right, this is a different thing though. It's their 50th anniversary.
But it's gonna be ticketed, most things actually go forward.
So for this program, all of these events have to be free and open to the public. So this 50th celebration is going to be inside and outside, but it will not, none of these events are allowed to be ticketed events. They all have to be free and open to the public.
And where is their plan? I see.
This one.
Theirs is the white one with the text in the front, no.
I see it.
Additional discussion?
I look at the SOAR program kind of like against the Goliath. I think the Arts Festival and the Hippodrome, since they've been around for so long, have had time to develop access to other network and have access to other sources of funding. SOAR is a very new program. It's targeted to needs of young kids and people that are trying to get upward mobility, get skills, get access to opportunity. And I like what they're doing. It may not be as wide, but it is serving a problem of people having more options in life to participate in something maybe like it. Even though Arts Festival of Hippodrome is free, but to be able to increase diversity because they don't feel trapped. If y'all get a sense of what I'm saying, it's kind of like targeting people that could be more contributive or more participatory in society and diversity that way, because they get more exposure. And I'm looking at them as being a new kid on the block in terms of having access to funding. That I think there's a greater need there. So I look at it that way.
I have a question. How many people usually, well, last year was the first year. How many people attended that program?
In my estimate, it had to be at least, and I wasn't there for the whole thing. Probably a good 250.
That's what they have on here, 250 to 350.
Oh, yeah, they really know.
Yeah, that was my guesstimation. The police was there. It was very festive, very fun. They had vendors there, people selling their products. And I was really impressed with the participation of the people that came out, food trucks. And I think I mentioned last time, this lady, she was letting people make designs on the glass for free. I still have that glass. So it's pretty cool. And there was a diverse crowd there as well. So yeah, it wasn't just one demographic. So yeah, I had a real positive feel about that and what they're also using that event to do in the background. So it's something But I think that we've known for a long time in terms of even why the CRA went to the GCRA to extend our existence in terms of not just things like infrastructure and the programs, but really trying to get to the people as well. And I think the SOAR program is doing that, which is a part of our second objective in terms of community.
Well, I haven't heard 3 different discussions. Each one very convincing, by the way. I think the fact is that they're all 3 worthy organizations. I would tend to lean in Member Mitchell's direction, though, in that particular event probably is going to have a lot harder time trying to get cash from somewhere else, whereas the other 2 more known in the community. You know, the Fifth Avenue Festival has been around for a long time. Yes, they'll find some additional funding. In the overall scheme of things, if they lose $2,500, they can probably make it up somewhere else. The Hippodrome, maybe as well. I don't know exactly, but I would tend to agree with you, Mitchell, in that in this particular case.
So,
I'm fine with SOAR.
I
okay,
just like how there's not a lot of other funding that they got from the city either.
well, because there were a new program last year. And what to say, we're not gonna touch anymore. And there are a lot of programs like the one that SOAR is having, like this one. I think Hedrika Noble did one. And I know the MLK just did one. And there's one tomorrow night, boys and girls. There are at least 5 or 6 different programs that's doing the same thing that SOAR is. The GPD and the sheriff and the gun violence and all those type of things. There are at least 5 in East Gainesville that I know of that's happening right now. I think it's like, I hate to say, but several groups are doing the same thing. I would recommend they work together. I would love to see them work together collectively. Like tomorrow night, there'll probably be 400 or 500 people at this event, and we don't ask for anything from the city. The MLK had a big one last Wednesday night and Thursday. And the Rosewood Foundation has something similar. Last week, 2 nights, Ben Crump was here to speak to young people. And so there are several of those type of programs going around. I know of 3 in the last week. So I would like to have a better bang for our buck and perhaps ask her to work with some of the other groups that's currently have things in place. I know the MLKs have been around 30-something years, and in past years, they have centered at least 2 events around young people doing the same thing that SOAR does. They don't ask for any funding.
What are the particulars when you say the same thing? Because I read SOAR's write-up and I want to understand what you.
Okay, let me see what SOAR.
Because from what I understand, they have connections with colleges and things that they're doing between colleges as well.
Well, the group that did it, that's doing it tomorrow night, boys and girls night out, they don't have any connection with funding other than like we give a few dollars and members of the community, we contribute like $100 to help defray the cost and everything. Black women, ministers in Gainesville, and lay members.
Community at large.
And lay members.
Okay.
Okay, and I would invite you all to please come and see one of these events. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be there tomorrow night, and several other people talking about engaging our young people. And I think that's where our biggest focus should be right now, on our children and gun violence and things like that in our community.
Well, sometimes you're preaching to the choir with those things. And
We
so,
are.
the people that really need to hear that probably won't be in the room most of the time.
They do.
So my only thing is that SOAR, out of all these other groups that you've mentioned, is the only one that has showed up to this board to make a request. And if they have been around, you know, maybe they're not aware, maybe, we could do more work to make them aware.
Well,
But the idea of the partnerships, you know, that's what they can do, but what can we do as a board to help? And they have requested. And so I don't want to water down the fact that they have put in the effort to put out an application when all these other organizations are out there.
that investment did. I mean, Fonda did come in, the new director of that program. Am I correct? She
Okay,
did.
I remember her now. So I
Okay.
mentioned her. I stand corrected. And did we award her anything?
We awarded her, you said 3,000.
I believe last year they asked for 2,500 and the board approved $3,000 for them last year for the Fifth Avenue Arts Festival.
Right. And so I don't, I'm still looking at just the three that we have here. And I don't want to mitigate or water down what they're doing because we want to put them in a pool of everybody else. They've distinguished themselves because they have applied. And so because they have applied, we should not water down the request because there are other people out there doing that. I mean, you got the Star Center. I mean, in terms of like what the Hippodrome does, they could be here, but they're not. I've been there several times.
I have Travis, didn't
And
I?
so, and that's probably where I saw you. But, so I think me as a board member is puts even more of a consciousness now to approach them and say, hey, you need to look at this community partnership grant and get them in here. So
But then we won't have enough money. We only have 10,000 in the pool, right?
let's not look at it in terms of limitations. Let's look at it in terms of giving people access. We worry about the money later.
I think-
So I just would say that I would stand by my.
And
I would say also, as this application was due by December 1st, so this money is going to be allocated regardless between these three recipients, no matter what we do and how we feel about it. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm wondering whether or not there's going to be potentially a motion at this point that we could.
My motion is to award it to the Fifth Avenue Festival.
Is there a second for that?
Motion died for a second.
Motion that the 2 points be awarded to the SOAR program for the backyard barbecue.
Motion. I can second it. Can I second it as a chair? I can? Okay. So I second that. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion related to the motion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I will. In City Hall here with the program.
Here's the SOAR packet. I didn't get that.
It's right on your right.
The first motion was presented by Member Fox
Died for exactly.
for the Fifth Avenue. Motion died.
Wasn't seconded.
That's so.
Mhm. Move to second.
Move.
The SOAR program backyard.
Four. And then the motion.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those not in favor signify by saying sign.
Aye.
Motion carries with either one. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Bear with me for just one second. Let's go.
So, in the board, these were the points awarded by staff for the groups. With SOAR receiving the 2 points, they are now at 7, compared to the other two at 6. So SOAR would be the one receiving the full 5,000. The $2,500 will be going to each of the other two, including that other $5,000 pool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it on this particular item, right? There's nothing else. Okay, next item, H2 2023-68, GRA fiscal year 2022 annual report and work plan update. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. So hello, advisory board members. I'm happy to bring to you our fiscal year 22 annual work plan. And we've also provided in your backup the fiscal year 22 annual report. I did also give you a copy of that if you didn't have a chance to take a look at it prior to the meeting. So here we have the commission approved 10-year work plan and the interlocal agreement established the funding through 2029 to accomplish the work that we see here. The city and the county contribute roughly a combined $7 million per year. As you can see here, 3 major categories were identified in this work plan, and that is economic development, community enhancements and housing, and public space and streetscape initiatives. We also heard from the community and the commission that the major transformational projects in Eastside should be the focus of the GCRA moving forward through 2029. In 2022, 2 transformational projects were identified, and that is in Eastside, 8th and Waldo, and also what we are calling the Eastside Health and Economic Development Initiatives, or EHEDI. And we will touch more later in this presentation on EHEDI. So here we're going over our fiscal year 22 economic development highlights. These are the accomplishments that we had in economic development. The tri-party agreement between the city, county, and University of Florida Health led community engagement around the city's rezoning of our Eastside Health and Economic Development property. This agreement laid the groundwork for the transformational EHEDI project located adjacent to the Cornerstone property on Southeast Hawthorne Road. Community feedback from the engagement has been positive, and we are excited to do more engagement with the community as this master plan progresses. In addition to, the city and the county agreed that the GCRA boundary expansion allowing for 8th and Waldo to move forward. Currently, the city is working on implementing a purchase order for a feasibility study funded by the GCRA. And the city and the GCRA have worked with MKSK as a consultant in the development of the approved downtown strategic plan. This approved plan will allow the GCRA to work with leadership regarding the power district and to formulate next steps. Under the GCRA's community enhancements and housing highlights, the GCRA has coordinated with the Department of Mobility for the city to locate an RTS transfer station at Cornerstone as part of the EHEDI master plan. This RTS transfer station is being funded with $4 million from the Department of Transportation as a grant. The transfer station is expected to spur discussions about bringing the future food hub and form to be determined at the Cornerstone property. The Business Improvement Grant Program graduated 4 businesses in 2022, and the Community Partnership Grant Program was approved by the City Commission in 2022. This program offers funding for special events held within the GCRA district. The first application cycle ended in December, and 3 applicants were received and today approved by the GCRA Advisory Board at this January meeting. For fiscal year 2022, we wanted to give you an update regarding the GCRA housing programs. As you can see here, the majority of the programs, they completed their first pilot year as of January 1st. And the Housing and Community Development Division is planning to bring back a more robust discussion in February of 2023 to the City Commission. And we will bring that information back to you. So this aerial of Heartwood was taken in November of 2022. You can see the 11 Dreams to Reality homes under construction, and the pads have been cleared for the next phase of the homes to be built, which will be the showcase. These will be either funded by the buyer and or by the city. The first Dreams to Reality home are owner occupied. I'm going to give Trisha a little clap here. The first closings took place in November and December, and 4 more are scheduled for this month. We expect all 11 Dreams to Reality homes to be occupied by April. This is the map that can be found on heartwoodgnv.com website that we keep updated. And this shows the lots that are available and under contract. The 2 city-funded showcase homes were approved in July 21st of 2022 and are in permitting, and we are expected to start construction here early in 2023. So this year, the Heartwood model home was the first home on Eastside to be featured in the Builders Association of North Central Florida's Spring Parade of Homes in April of 2022. In October, we held 2 events at Heartwood. The construction celebration event featured leadership and commissioners. About half of the home buyers did attend with their realtors and also with their families. After the guest speakers, all were invited to sign the beam that you see here, which was then placed in an internal wall in one of the homes. The following weekend, we held an open house sales event, and Teams Dynamo is continuing to hold open houses here on the weekends. So we continue to work with partners to leverage our resources for improvements along these corridors that were identified through the development of our 10-year work plan. And we are looking forward to bring back a little bit more information of that here in 2023. So we're focusing on transformational projects in East Gainesville. So this aerial view shows Gainesville in the white stars that represent these transformational projects that are underway. Those projects are the Power District, 8th and Waldo, Heartwood, and the Eastside Health and Economic Development Initiative. The Cornerstone campus is part of a larger transformational project that emerged in fiscal year 2022. And that is what we are identifying as the Eastside Health and Economic Development Initiative that we've been speaking to. So EHEDI is a collaboration between the City of Gainesville, UF Health, and Alachua County, and we're sharing here the conceptual master plan with you today. The Eastside Health and Economic Development site is located on Southeast Hawthorne Road. It is near the Cornerstone campus. In fiscal year 22, the City Commission approved the purchase of the additional property which connects the Eastside Health and Economic Development site and the Cornerstone campus. The goal is to create economic development opportunities, jobs, and possibly additional housing here in East Gainesville. To make EHEDI a reality, the most urgent need is to put roadway networks in place that will connect the UF property all the way through to Cornerstone, Southeast 8th Ave and Southeast Hawthorne Road. So this is, I believe, the first time that you're all seeing this particular master plan. I want to point out that this is still conceptual. We're working with CHW, but this is also something that we are bringing to Monday's joint city county meeting, which is on the 23rd of this month. So we are bringing this first so that we can have some discussions and also some feedback.
Are you looking at a discussion from us?
I just wanted to identify, I know Mr. Mann had spoken earlier too, and I wanted to put in context with This particular presentation will be brought to you first here today, and then going to the joint city county meeting on the 23rd. And so we kind of zoomed in on this particular slide, and this is the concept drawings from CHW, and it shows locations for the components that will make up this project. As you can see here, it's including retail, medical facilities, an RTS transfer station, Gainesville Fire Rescue Facility, grocery, housing, and the existing Cornerstone campus. The housing component shown here includes 5 buildings in the center site, and they are all about 3 levels each. The 2 westernmost buildings, and that's what we're calling the upside down L-shaped building, are anticipated to have ground floor commercial space for medical, potentially office retail, with 2 floors of market rate housing above, comprised of approximately 25 to 35 homes. The 3 easternmost buildings will have 3 levels of market rate housing with a total of about 32 to 50 homes. The GCRA is also collaborating on this with a community garden with Dr. Lakeisha Butler. She is the Associate Vice President for Inclusion, Diversity, and Health Equity for the University of Florida's Health Science Center, and also the Chief Diversity Officer for UF Health. Sure.
The L shape.
Mhm.
Where's that?
Because I don't think this has a,
Does have a pointer.
it does? Okay.
The button pressing holds for the vision.
Thank you.
Look at that right here.
Okay, where are the 32 homes somewhere?
So the L shape, this is what's anticipated right here, to have ground floor commercial space for medical, office retail, and 2 floors of market rate housing. And that would be comprised of those floors of potentially 25 to 35 homes. And the easternmost, oh, there you go. Turn it off. Am I moving while I'm reading?
The locations for that still aren't completely defined yet, because there's several discussions going on about whether we're going to do mixed use or separate housing versus retail buildings. And it all depends on part of it depends on UF's future desires to add any other services there from the medical campus.
I attended a meeting last Monday where they did a presentation on the medical facilities. They have the team at the community meeting at Lincoln High School, and they are doing community input. And they're going to have another meeting to find out what kind of services they would want UF to bring. So this is on 8th Avenue.
Yes. So this is right here at Hawthorne Road, to give some context, right? Hold on. Over here.
That's the 8th Avenue.
Yes, right here is, to give some perspective, it's the GTEC building is right here.
Mhm.
And the UF clinic is going to be here on Hawthorne Road. And I just want to reiterate that this is a concept plan. And so we're in the process of working with CHW, UF Health, but this is the first time that we're able to bring you a concept of what we're working towards. And as it progresses, as Phil mentioned, it's moving quite quickly, which is really positive. And it does bring the UF clinic, we're here on Hawthorne Road, all the way down to where we know GTEC to be. So the connectivity is from the Cornerstone properties that are over here, and it would connect all the way through.
Okay, now where are the houses going to be, the homes?
So right now in the conceptual plans, these are the areas that we're looking at. But as Phil had mentioned, the things that we feel confident on today would be the bus transfer station. That's where the funding is at. And we do know the UF clinic will be here. And as you can see, we are discussing grocery opportunities. And we're also, what was that?
Or a food hub.
Or a food hub.
Commission hasn't set policy on that.
I'm concerned about community engagement where the homes are. You know, we're going through this whole big thing with ability and the neighbors that lives in that area. So I would recommend that we have some community engagement before we get to where the county is with mobility. I think that people that lives in that area should be given an opportunity to see the plan and we get feedback from them. But I don't think we should go ahead and put this plan out until we get some community involvement.
So
Ms. Fox, we've already had
Where?
community involvement. I can't speak to it because the team that's doing the development has, UF has had some, but the housing on this, the huge difference between this and ability housing is this is not going to be affordable housing.
Okay, these are the-
It's going to be market rate housing. The whole idea behind, and it may be kind of like Heartwood is. There may be, and Corey may want to speak to this, there may be a percentage of affordable homes mixed in with the market rate. But the idea is that for this development to drive economic, both from a development standpoint and from a disposable income standpoint, so we can start drawing businesses to the east side.
I still say.
And I'm not saying that they're through with the,
No.
rather I'm saying we're through with the public input process. Because I haven't been involved in it. I just know that UF and
Zoning.
development team, zoning and development team.
I know I can speak to you after they can met with the community several times.
Okay,
And Mr. Harris, if you could set up some community meetings to discuss, so our community would know, because I haven't heard of it. And I attend almost everything there is. So if you could set up some kind of community, or perhaps go to the Wayne Fields group that we meet on Mondays and talk about this plan, so we can put it out front. And the neighbors that live in that area would have a full concept of what we are proposed to bring. Can we do that forward?
Well, this is a GCRA plan, and so I wouldn't feel necessarily comfortable discussing their plan, and this is to go before the city and county at the joint meeting next week, and you're meeting on next Monday. I'm actually planning to be there to talk about a different topic. So I would encourage this group to encourage the GCRA staff at some point to reach out and coordinate a meeting, but
Mem-
necessarily want to take the baton from them because this is a GCRA.
Okay.
Member Fox, I think I might be able to answer some questions regarding it, just to kind of let you know the progression of what we have done and where we're at, and definitely where we're going, and the sensitivity to those conversations that are out there. What I can speak to is that from day one, we have been working with Dr. Lakeisha Butler. There, as you remember, there's quite a bit of conversations around the UF clinic. We also have had community engagement around the zoning of it that was advertised, and we have worked with. At this juncture, just to give context, we always bring all conceptual plans to the GCRA advisory board first, and then we would go to both the city and the county to have a discussion. Once we understand and feel confident that this is the conceptual plan, that's when we will be bringing it to the community and having discussions every step of the way. Right now, just so you're aware, this is just the beginning stages of this, but we wanted to make sure that we started having conversations with our board first and showing that here today.
Well, I think you're doing it just the opposite, and you're doing the same thing that mobility did. Send the plan to the people that lives in that the neighbors that live in that area to get their feel on it. Before you all say, well, this is what we're proposing. Show them your idea and get your feedback from them. And I remember when we were doing something else, we went from community, neighborhoods to neighborhood, doing this type of discussion. I would urge us to please, let's do that before moving forward with this. Now I will talk to Wayne Fields about this and let them know, and the people that attend this meeting. Don't you think that's a good idea, Mr. Harris?
Well, again, we're gonna be talking to the group next Monday about a different topic
Okay.
with the group. So, coordinating those meetings have been somewhat seamless. And so I'm pretty sure that the GCRA can take that under consideration.
Okay.
But I just want to reiterate, as Mo said, that this is a concept. And so, it could go before the city and the county and they say, hey, we like the concept, but that doesn't mean that it's set in stone at that point per se. And it would still give the community an opportunity to weigh in, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
And, you're right. And Ms. Fox, the other thing that could happen, because we're so preliminary in discussions, that bottom portion where Mo described, that could end up being a completely medical campus for UF. The only thing we know for certain is the transit hub, the medical center, and we have some funding for either a grocery store or a food hub pad.
Okay, well, I will take it to our Monday group and let them know what the concept is. So they can have some input or feedback to us on how they feel about it.
And I'm not, Ms. Fox, I don't think I'm disagreeing with you. I'm just,
Oh, you know, it's good to disagree. You know that, Mr. Lincoln. We have to disagree. That's what makes things happen. If everybody thought it like this, would be terrible.
yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah, but I know how everything has been and the stress our community's been under about this type of thing being proposed to them after the plan was drawn.
Member Fox, I just want to reassure you that the GCRA team very much feels passionate about community engagement on this. And that is one of the reasons why we wanted to bring it here for a conceptual conversation. But I feel very confident in the leadership and what we will be bringing forward. And what you're saying is very valuable. And I want you to hear that.
Oh, and I know the city, after what we've been through, the city and the county, they would not approve anything without community engagement.
Yes, I feel very confident that there will be quite a bit. I think because it is conceptual, the only thing that we can confidently say funding is here for at this time would be the UF clinic, the food hub, and then also the transfer station. Everything else outside of the fact that we did buy the white electric property that connected us all the way through to the GTech property. So those are the things that we can confidently say at this time. And then as we progress, community engagement will be very much a part of this plan.
Mo, can I just say one other thing? I just want to make sure it may be clear to everyone except for me. I mean, it may be clear to everyone, including me, but we're talking about multifamily, not single family. And I just want to make sure that that's clear because sometimes.
Multi-family.
Right, so this conceptual plan or this concept plan does not include single family right now. It's a concept plan with multifamily. So you have multiple units attached.
Okay.
Okay, again, I just want to make
And
sure.
that's just like the apartment buildings, so multifamily means more than one. So it could be similar to the what abilities for multifamily units.
I think the piece that Phil had mentioned was that these opportunities for housing, because it's conceptual, this could end up being more, as we were saying, an economic driver to businesses, and it could actually not be housing at this time. And so these could be, and if I think the majority of you have had the opportunity, and if you haven't, you need to come over to the GCRA and actually look at not only these plans, you can have conversations with us, but this could easily be an economic driver for retail, medical, office spaces. So that's always the risk when we come and talk about these things, but that is the conceptual piece. The things that you can walk away confidently on today is that we were able to buy this property. It does connect over to GTech. We are refreshing GTech. That is the interior and exterior refresh. We are also there. There has been plenty of community engagement that's been positive regarding the UF clinic. The grocery, that is a part of our 10-year work plan. So that food hub and forum, we're figuring that out. And that the bus transfer station, that $4 million grant will be going right here. Those are the things that are confident today as we work through a conceptual plan. And then as we work through this, we will do community engagement every step of the way. And if this turns into housing, I feel confident in Corey and Phil and our team, we will do as much housing community engagement. But at this time, this could be an economic driver with regards to retail and other facilities to bring businesses in this Cornerstone campus area.
I wasn't a part of the GCRA at the time, but this goes back to public meetings that the GCRA held roughly 10 years ago when they held several workshops on the east side of town. and said, what does the east side want?
And we did that sell with, Parkwood. In fact, we met so many times at GTAC. And then not only did we meet, we met in some other neighborhoods as well to come up with the concept. Because we met, I know 20 times before we had came up with a name for Hartwood. And talked about, because people didn't want it to be multifamily. That was the bottom line. And the DCR in the city of Lexington, you know, there was enough people that were engaged. But I remember us doing that since I've been on this board, and it hadn't been that long, because I hadn't been on that long. But and I attended before I became a member of the board.
I believe the final engagements in Heartwood were approximately around 2017. And just to give you context, because Heartwood, I love my little pointer. Because Heartwood was a big part of that conversation, if you come back to the beginning master planning here with GTAC and Cornerstone, to give you context, we already have site ready pads here that are ready to go for, you know, a private investor potentially to come in. Here's the GTEC building, which the EDA grant just came up. We're in the process of coming back with a master plan on a refresh for the interior and exterior for a small local and diverse incubator that came from the community. And then just to give you context, this was always potentially, I'll say, Cornerstone phase 2. And then this rare opportunity came available to purchase this. And that's where we're taking these old plans that were community engaged. Cornerstone was the name that the community chose. There were some other ones in there, but Cornerstone was, and that's why it's on our 10-year work plan. And so this 10-year work plan is, and this rare opportunity with the timing of the UF clinic, the ability for us to do the property acquisition and bring it all the way through to GTEC really comes from these community engagement plans of Cornerstone, where the community said, we want businesses, we want businesses to reside here, especially with market and affordable housings there at Heartwood. And so I think this is the pivotal piece where we're in a unique situation to really take a look at this, but I do want to emphasize conceptual plan. And as we know more, we'll bring it forward and community engagement will absolutely be done.
And this is my thing, because I've worked for the city for 36 years. And I've seen project plans for the east side come and go. Nothing has ever come to fruition
Absolutely not.
because of no money.
Now we got the money.
For the first time in my career here, we actually have the chance to do a transformational project, and it's going to be ARPA funds. It's going to be FTA, Federal Transit Authority funds, and it's going to be CRA dollars. And I'm excited that, and whatever comes out of the public process for that lot 4 will be awesome.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell.
Member Mitchell.
So when you said that we bought, I think that bottom one down there, that's the city, right?
Yes, so yes, this is, and we did bring this to you. I think it was in the November meeting, but this is the white electric battery property. We had to set aside funds in the 10-year work plan for property acquisition. And so when opportunities come available like this, you want to really have that funding set aside. And so that funding was set aside for property acquisition, and the commission approved, I'm going to say November, it could have been September, to purchase this property. We did bring it before the board. We did bring an initial conceptual plan at one of the meetings and sort of discussed it, but this is as things progress. But the confident pieces are the clinic, the RTS, to what form the food hub that's identified on our plan. Those are the things that we feel confident on. And then the GTEC, the interior, exterior, and small local diverse incubator. Okay.
The reason why I asked is because you mentioned medical in that portion, and I don't, so it made me think maybe UF had some hand in that, but now that you've clarified that, it's more flexible to being other kind of businesses. So since we're in the preliminary part of that, my 2 cents about housing next to the transfer station center might not be too attractive for people that are looking for market level housing. And I think you have more leverage for businesses being there because you have people coming in and out, waiting on a bus saying, well, let me go over here and eat let me go over here and shop. It seems to work better.
I would like to mention just in what you're discussing here, in that L-shaped, the anticipated was to have the ground floor potentially commercial space. That would be medical, office, and retail. And just to clarify, potentially the 2 floors of market rate housing would then be comprised of about 25 to 35. So if we were to bring this forward, beyond just the initial conceptual steps that we're in today, that market retail that you're discussing would be in addition to.
Okay, and we already have proof of that because right across from the old transfer station, Bo Diddley, there's this business kind of 2-floor thing going on and others downtown. Okay, I just wasn't aware that we were talking 2 stories. I was thinking one or the other. So that makes a big difference.
And then also to both Member Mitchell and Member Fox, if you remember what we did with Heartwood, when we do community engagement, we communicate way in advance. We try to plan it out. And I think we did Heartwood very successfully. We went out and made sure, so we would follow that same formula that has served us well. And so I think that would be something that as we get to those steps, we'd be able to bring back.
And my other question is, that not included area next to UF Clinic, any plans of that or any things that are kind of inhibiting us?
UF and the city do not own this at the time, so therefore that is why it is not included.
You say UF owns it?
No, UF or the city, neither one owns that property.
No, it's
Privately owned.
it's like 8 different residential.
Yes.
lots, 7 or 8 different residential lots. So UF, the lot UF bought is one continuous tract that goes all the way through from Hawthorne Road to 8th Avenue. And then we bought the white battery and electric piece, which is contiguous to our property and UF's property. So that was a single purchase. The concept that we have been going under is if we can make this an economic development that spurs private development, they'll have a much better ability to buy those 8 individual residential lots than we do.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Okay, I
And
guess,
that's really the hope, is that we bring other business with this.
yes, I'm definitely with that. I'm more pro the business part if it was either or, but since we're talking about mixed use like that, there are people that definitely find it's like, I would like to live in market rates. Don't have to drive my car to get where I need to go, and at the same time have other resources there to shop or do whatever. I think that's all I had right then and there. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your comments.
I do have one back on another slide, but for you to get through the.
Sure thing. Okay. So here we have a focus on these transformational projects. We have 6 years left as the reinvestment roadmap, and that's fiscal year 23 through 29. And so we have refined sort of the GCRA 10-year work plan that you would find on page 95 of the 10-year work plan. This is a tool that we want to use to communicate work remaining over the next 6 years. And so here you'll see in the green box, we have economic development initiatives with 3 transformational projects comprised of the connected projects identified in the GCRA 10-year work plan. So with that being said, right here under E-Heady, what we did is, if you remember page 95 in the work plan, there's quite a few identified projects and also programs. What we have done is we've taken Cornerstone, G-Tech Management, the Eastside Food and Mobility Hub, property acquisitions, and we've identified that what we had shown you with the master plan under the Eastside Health and Economic Development Initiative. So these are the programs or projects, in this particular case, projects that we have identified that we can get done under those economic development initiatives under the E-Heady umbrella. The same thing here in 8th Avenue and Waldo Road. We believe we can do the Waldo Road improvements that were identified in our work plan, the Waldo Road, Williston Road corridor improvements, any sort of mixed use development or job opportunities there once we get that feasibility study back. And then the downtown strategic plan was just approved by MKSK. So this is an opportunity for us to identify the former RTS site development and also to tie that into next steps with leadership regarding the power district and the former fire station number 1. There in the lavender box is what we're calling it. So I'm going to Try to show that here. Here, this contains the active GCRA projects. And what this means is you will see these projects that are underway and will be completed before the end date of the GCRA, which is 2029. In the blue, we have public space and streetscape initiatives. These are the corridor improvements that we are currently collaborating on with Public Works and Mobility and some others to come back with sort of next steps regarding our public space and streetscape initiatives. On the right column, this here shows the initiatives that are under the Housing and Community Development Division there in that purple box. And the programs with the check marks have been developed and or approved by the City Commission and are ongoing. So what I wanted to try to do here was, as we look at page 95 and you see all the programs and projects, we wanted to find a way to kind of look at the next 6 years and say all of these items with the check marks have been completed, but they would be ongoing because they would be like the paint grant program or the air assistance or neighborhood. So it's not something that we can say is done today. The programming is finished, but it'll be ongoing through fiscal year 29.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the streetscape.
Yes.
On the 7th Avenue, in front of Cotton Club and going both ways. I thought in the master plan there was going to be some streetscaping, like an aid going around, a connector between the museum, the Harns, and the Cotton Club, you say?
The
The
CADE. So these were the identified connectivity streetscape initiatives that were identified in our 10-year work plan. And these will be bringing back with the help of Mobility and Public Works. But that particular area, there wasn't a streetscape or it was not approved in our 10-year work plan as next steps that we would be doing. And Daniel might have a comment to that.
This is as a follow-up comment, the 5 there, public space and streetscapes. There's the 5 there, but then there's the one other under the economic development, 8th Avenue and Water Road, the very first item. The second item is also the road corridor improvements. It's just been categorized over there.
For connectivity, the feasibility study will be looking at the roadway improvements as well as what would be feasible on that site since we expanded the GCRA boundaries. So that's why it's identified here. It's sort of a way to visually group what, when we say E-Heady moving forward, this was a tool that we wanted to use to bring not only to our advisory board, but to use with the public regarding when we say E-Heady, this is going to connect all of these projects that are in our work plan. And when we say 8th and Waldo, this would be the connectivity, the downtown strategic plan. And then these particular GCRA projects, they're underway. So we do project them to be done between now and fiscal year 29. And we are partnering to come back with plans that we would be bringing back to you regarding the streetscape. And then this, as you know, Corey is doing the housing and community development. These are the initiatives. So all of these particular programs have been approved and they have just finished their first year as a pilot program. So they're going to be bringing back to the commission and to the advisory board with regards to the success of that pilot program and if any changes might need to be made. And that would be, they're planning around February of 2023. But for all intents and purposes, the idea was, is if you're looking over here, as we complete things, we're going to be moving it to the complete pile over the next 6 years. And so these ongoing programs, all of these check marks, for all intents and purposes, the programs are complete. They might be tweaks along the way and they'll be ongoing. But I'm hoping this is a helpful tool. We would love some feedback on that because if you take a look at the 10-year work plan, page 95 is a lot to absorb. And so we wanted to really bring some connectivity and also a way to showcase our success every time we bring forward an annual report in this completed pile.
Okay.
And so just a quick piece that I didn't mention, the gold is district-wide landscaping maintenance, and this is also ongoing. And the orange is the innovation district, which is complete off of our 10-year work plan. So the hope is that the slide will be that communication tool. It'll show progress over the next 6 years and our completed projects. And I can go back to most everything, but this is what we'll be bringing to the joint city county. It is to hear the report and presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
With the mention anything, and I don't see it on, unless I overlooked it with the renovation of the MLK Center and Citizens Field and a possible community building there that, what would you call it? Most cities have like a convention center. It won't be a convention center, but it would be a building big enough where we could host community events and banquets, and when people come in there, but you didn't mention anything in that plan, and I know to the city commissions, a couple of them, they talked about the plan for that, and it's with the, okay, but you didn't go into detail, you just
So
said.
right now, it is identified as a feasibility study. And so 8th and Waldo is the area. That's where we did the boundary expansion that allows us to pay for the feasibility study. At that time, we only had approximately about 8 acres. Now with the expansion that we did in fiscal year 22, that allows us to pay for the feasibility study. We plan to bring that back to you. But what you were discussing, we need to find out what is feasible, not only from the consultant, but also the roadway improvements. So both parts will be coming back.
That was the only thing, you had it there, but not.
We didn't quite want to
Later.
name it. This is what is on our 10-year work plan that was approved by the commission. So these are the projects, the work and the funding to move forward. And so, but this is under a feasibility study at this time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just
Welcome.
a question, that feasibility study, do you have any schedule as to when that might come back in front of us?
I can put that as something to bring back to you. I'm having conversations at the end of this month. I'm working with Parks, Recreation and Cultural Affairs on that. And so our kickoff meeting, I'll be able to have that meeting by the end of the month and bring back to you.
So Mo, if you get with Roxy, and I'm saying this for the benefit of the board as well. In the presentations, they had to present a timeline from the time they get noticed to proceed. They have different milestones. So Mo should be able to get a copy of that from Roxy and share that with the board so that you know what their timelines are. Because I think they have to have certain public meetings too.
Yes. Their public engagement was a big part about that feasibility study and the award. And so there will be public engagement around that. The kickstart of the meeting with the consultant is at the end of this month, and they're to give us a timeline. So I'll be bringing back that timeline to give you concrete numbers at that point.
I think things are gonna move pretty fast, faster than it has been in the past.
Another question? You have something?
I wanted to go back to the Parkwood progress slide in terms of sales. There was a little bit of an ambiguity with me. So we had 11 dreams to reality homes, right?
Correct.
So why are we're not counting 11 lots sold?
So the lots sold includes Dreams to Reality and Showcase. The Showcase buyers have purchased the property from the city. They are they're constructing homes, but it's technically their land. They have closed on the property. And then they'll have another closing at the end to close on the actual house.
Okay, so it's divided. That's why we're not counting all the Dreams to Reality homes is sold.
That's correct, because some of the Dreams to Reality homes, they have not closed on the home. And
Gotcha.
So we have 11, and out of the 11, 7 of them have been sold.
Of the 11, 4 have been sold.
I don't see
That might be another good breakdown on your slide as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, we, this way, we're looking at the neighborhood as a whole and like not singling out the Dreams to Reality,
Gotcha.
but that does make sense. But yeah, 4 of the Dreams to Reality homes have closed, one last week, another one this Thursday. And so that means, 4 of them, 4 have sold.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering on the strategic downtown plan, what is the next step for that? Where does that sit right now?
I think at this point, we're working with leadership. I'll go back to this slide here. That is allowing us to have greater conversations with leadership regarding the power district. There's a lot of connectivity there with the downtown strategic plan, McRory Gardens, and also the power district. So we want to work with leadership and bring that back now that the commission has approved. I believe that was that November? MKSK and the report for the downtown strategic plan. And so to answer your question, we'll be having meetings this year with leadership to come back with those pieces, hence the connectivity of all these items, and come back with next steps.
Is the consultant still under contract, provide additional services, or?
The consultant at this time, I believe, is complete, but I can find out from Sarit Sela, who is managing that one, if there was plans to bring them back in after they finish out their PO. So I can bring that back to the next meeting.
Workshops that they had recently, end of the year, was that part of their original scope or was it additional scope?
I believe that was additional scope. I don't know if you remember, Phil.
Original scope, but I think, if I recall correctly, we're entering into an addendum with that.
Okay.
Additional work. Based on the direction the city commission gave, they adopted the master.
Okay.
And so hopefully this is going to be the tool that we can have conversations around. We'll be bringing that back periodically. And just as a reminder, based on our interlocal agreement, every year before March 1st, we're to bring our annual report and work plan to the city and the county and to the advisory board. And so we're actually doing it early this year in January, mainly because we have quite a few moving parts here as we're focusing on transformational projects with 23 and 29 and the next 6 years left. So we're here a little bit earlier than usual, but we have a lot of work to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we are up to public comments. Any public comment? Hearing none. Are there any board member comments? No, not hearing any public comments. The only thing I would like to see is if we could get an update on the downtown strategic master plan, and just find out where that's going next. Anybody else? Next meeting?
I do have a request, like any public meetings that the staff may be having regarding projects that we can attend. Like to give emails on that. Perhaps we can show them some of those.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Next GCR meeting today.
Next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 21st at 5:30 right here.
Nothing else.
All right, so without objection, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.
Wonderful, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much, everybody.